You can often discover the charism of a community by the name. So the name in our sense, especially in our community, gives a clue. So Dominican Sisters of Mary, Mother of the Eucharist, the heart of our life, you could say the heartbeat of our life is the Eucharist. And we approach to the Eucharist in a very Marian way.
The charism of the School Sisters of Notre Dame is kind of multifaceted. So we want to strive for unity. We want to prefer the poor, especially women and children, to educate with a world vision, and to reverence all creation.
The charism of the Daughters of Mary, Mother of Mercy, is to bear witness to the mercy of God by following the footsteps of Christ, our merciful Savior, and Mary, our Mother of Mercy. And we bear this witness to the mercy of God by being compassionate and being kind to the poor, the needy, the aged, taking care of the sick and the underprivileged of our society.
We are called like Francis of Assisi. It was his call to live the gospel in their life. And so we too have called it to be our way of life. And so our focus actually is, first of all, to be in love with creation, because that is what God has given us. And also that we call ourselves to also reach out to those who are poor, marginalized, forgotten by society, and that we touch them in their lives.
Our charism is to give a home to the neediest elderly, no matter what race, creed, or religion. And we care for our residents with love, respect, and dignity. We welcome our residents from the moment they come into the home. We accompany them through their joys, through their expectations. And the greatest moment is that sacred moment when God calls them home to himself.
Our charism is to live and promote holiness. So that's why Pro Ecclesia Santa, the Holy Church. So we can do this in many different ways, which is beautiful because a lot of times people think, oh, what do you do? What is maybe you do one thing in particular or serve in a certain way. But with the charism of holiness and promoting holiness, we get to do that in many different ways. So we have a cancer home, we have a mission center. Here we do a lot with families and youth, different youth groups or faith formation programs.
So as a Nashville Dominican, we are Dominican sisters, meaning we're daughters of St. Dominic. So as many people know, St. Dominic was a fiery and compassionate preacher in the 1200s. And for him, there was really no distinction between truth and love. If you love, you give truth. And in pursuing truth, you are loving. And so we bring that charism forward as his daughters into often the educational setting, but not always. And we are in schools as teachers, as administrators, doing campus ministry. And the idea being that Christ so loved the world, right? That in his incarnation, he united our humanity to his divinity and brought us back to the Father. And so in our preaching and our teaching, we seek to preach the incarnation and to remind everyone, ourselves first and foremost, of the great dignity that we have, that Christ would assume our nature.
Talking about religious life, you will often hear the word charism. We've all seen or known charismatic people, but what does the word mean in the context of understanding religious life? A simple definition is that a charism is a gift from God for the church and the world, reflected in different ways of living out the gospel. In our archdiocese, we are blessed with 33 different religious communities of women, each bringing their charism, their gift, to the life of the church and to society in this local church. The gospel message is too full, too rich to be contained in any one gift. And so while each community, each sister, is dedicated to living and spreading the gospel of Jesus, there are unique aspects that highlight different dimensions of the message. Well, how does a charism develop? In general, it comes from a vision defined at the founding of the community that is lived out and becomes clarified through years of responding to the needs of the time. The charism is what energizes the members and how they define and perform their ministries. It does not define what they do, rather it defines how they do it. Now, some people are drawn to a particular community because of the charism. Others grow into understanding it and find the community to be a good fit for their own gifts. In my case, it was the second. I had no idea what the charism of the Sisters of St. Joseph was. And yet, as I learned and lived and shared, I found that spoke to my heart, and I live that each day. I asked a sample of women religious in our archdiocese to share their charism, their gift, and their way of living the gospel. And here's what they said. Sister Linda Solar, a Benedictine sister from St. Paul's Monastery, said, "We are a contemplative monastic order. Hospitality is our staple in community life, where all guests are to be received as Christ." There are 7 different Franciscan communities of women in the Archdiocese. Sister Clorinda Koffel shares this about their charism. As messengers of peace within the Church and the world, we commit ourselves to works that reverence human dignity, embrace the poor and marginalized, and respect the gift of all creation. The largest number of sisters in the Archdiocese at this time are the School Sisters of Notre Dame. Sister Kathleen Storms explained their charism. Dedicated through Mary to serve the Church, we carry out our charism through our efforts toward unity, our community life, our ministry directed toward education, preferring women, children, and the poor in our common search for and doing God's will. Sister Emi Ichikawa, a member of the Pro Ecclesia Sancta ecclesial family, responded, "Our charism is to promote holiness in the Church through the spirituality of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. We are called to give our lives in the service of the Church, walking with people in their journey of faith." The charism of the Visitation of Holy Mary, Sister Karen Mohan, Visitation Sister from North Minneapolis, explained, is humility toward God and gentleness toward our neighbor, to live Jesus. In my own community, the Sisters of St. Joseph of Carondelet embrace the charism of unifying love, moving always toward profound love of God and love of neighbor without distinction. No distinction among the neighbors, and no distinction between loving God and loving the dear neighbor. Now, this is just scratching the surface, but you can recognize a uniqueness in how each group names and lives out their charism, their gift, each one given for the sake of the gospel in the Church and society. If you're interested in learning more about the charisms of various communities of women religious, go to their websites, read about the founding and early history of the community. But the best way to understand the charism is to spend time with the members of the group. Experience their spirit in relating to one another and in their ministries. I've enjoyed sharing this time and information about charism in religious life. I hope you have a better understanding of charism and even curiosity to learn more. Thank you.